up? Yo, we're live, man.
What up, man?
Finally, huh?
I know.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time in the works.
I know. First off, I want to say happy birthday to Henry. He's on the podcast.
Hey.
Is it really? Is it
Happy
your
birthday,
actual
man.
birthday today, or?
So actually, yeah, my birthday was yesterday,
Oh, okay. Happy
29th. So I turned 43 this year.
Nice, man.
Big nothing number.
Nah, it still counts. It still counts, man.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't Michael Jordan 43 when he came back, something like that, or was he 40?
Oh man, was he?
No, 45.
Okay, you still got a couple of years then.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no Nomar's the
That's
young.
what my dad's turning. I told him I'm gonna buy him a Michael Jordan jersey, number 45 from the Wizards for his birthday.
Oh man. Or I guess better that than his baseball jersey.
Yeah, I don't think your dad likes baseball, right?
Sometimes, not really, but yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe when the Red Sox had Manny Ramirez, probably.
Yeah, and when they won in 2013 or 14,
Yeah.
I was watching a lot then.
So what's up, man?
Bro.
What'd you do for your birthday?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I specifically planned it that way. Like, I don't want to go hang out.
Yeah.
I don't want to go meet people. I don't want to party. I want to sit home. I'm going to drink. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to watch stupid movies. And I'm just going to enjoy my day.
Yeah. I feel like I do the same thing for my birthday. I just kind of have a chill day. I think I had chicken wings. I had chicken wings for my birthday.
It gets to that point, like you get to a certain age where it's just like, yeah, I could go out partying, I could be popping bottles, but man, bro, it's like it feels like once like 10 o'clock, 10:30 rolls around, just like I can't hang like that anymore.
Do one or the other.
Yeah.
You could stay up late or hang out. That's it.
Yeah,
It's insane, dude. I turned 24 this year, and all I had was my best friend came down from Massachusetts to visit, and it was just me, him, and my girl was here. That's it. I was like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to chill. Like, I worked on my birthday.
Oh, damn.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you want the day off? I'm like, for what? Like, I'm good, man.
Yeah, I try to take my birthdays off if I can, just to enjoy my day.
Yeah.
Like the one day of the year that I can do whatever I want to do, you know.
Oh, I don't know, but it is nice to just be able to not think about the fact that you just turned a year older.
Yeah.
It's like take your mind off of it, like get your hands busy. And just like forget about it all.
There's years where it feels like you didn't turn a year older, but then you feel it. Like you feel it in your body. And lately I've been feeling since my 30s, I've been feeling it more and more every year. I'm like, damn, this sucks. And I keep telling myself, I gotta work out. But I never really get to it to where I'm like really working out committed.
Yeah, I told my girlfriend, I was like, I'm 24, but my back is in the mid-30s.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, the type of stuff you do is a lot of labor intensive too. So.
Yeah.
You know, I used to work like that too in a company called Opus, and it was a lot of in-home installations with TV and stuff like that. And when you gotta carry those 100-inch TVs with another person, they're heavy, man.
Dude, I think the heaviest thing we got to do is carry like refrigerators to like the third floor, but we don't have elevators here because in order to have an elevator, the building has to have 4 floors. So like by code, they have to have 4 floors, so they purposely built them with 3 to not install elevators. So we got to carry refrigerators to the third floor on a dolly.
So do you have something for your back, like a back strap or something, or no?
Nah.
Damn.
Nah, man, it's just the dolly and push that bitch up, man.
Oh, bro. I swear you're going to get to a point where you're like mid-30s and just like, nah. Like, shame on me for doing this when I was young.
I know. I'm getting to that point now that it hurts, so now I'm like, now we take it chill.
Yeah.
Now we do a couple steps and we relax, and then a couple more and another break. When I started, it was get it up there and the other one down. We got other shit to do. Now we pace ourselves.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
I know
Bro.
with the AV stuff, we don't really do stuff like that unless it's like the hallways that we do at the end of the shows. Those were pretty bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, bro. But one person told me that, when you're doing stuff like this, like a lot of times you're not getting paid by the pound. So there's no reason to necessarily rush these things.
Yeah. That's what I told my coworker. I told him, I was like, dude, but if we get hurt and we can't work anymore, they're going to hire somebody the next day. Like, they don't give a fuck about me.
Exactly.
Like, so I'm going to take my sweet time doing this, man.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah, you have to take care of your body because once you hit a certain age, that's when it all starts coming, like fast too.
Yeah.
Depending on how labor intensive you've been working, during the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, Henry, I wanted to talk to you about not a lot of people know your story, man. I wanna talk about that. Tell us your story, how you got into movie production and sound design. What, like, I know you weren't doing that at the beginning. You were doing IT work, right? At one point.
Bro, what a journey. Yeah. I actually, when I actually came of age to start working, like, film and television was nowhere on my radar. My parents really encouraged me. Like, when I was going through, like, middle school, high school, college, there was this big push to do, like, IT. Because this was like, right before the turn of the millennium, in like the late 90s. And, at that time, bro, like the internet was just like this new, fresh thing. Like nobody really knew what the capabilities was, but it was just like, possibilities are endless. And so, yeah, bro, that was just like the push towards the end of the 90s. It was just like get into IT. Learn how to do programming. With the internet, you can learn like all these different things. You can do websites. You can do like full-blown company databases, like all these things that like everybody just pumped up.
Yeah.
But bro, the one thing they don't tell you when you're doing that stuff is what goes along with doing IT. And just like, sitting in front of a computer, just like 8 hours a day, or I mean, honestly, realistically, we work like 4 to 5 hours realistically in a day. Just like doing that, being like super isolated, not necessarily socializing as you're sitting there and going through stuff. For me, it was pretty much just like sitting in an office. Like, thankfully, not a cubicle. They were nice enough to give me an office when I was starting out. But to just, turn off the fluorescent lights in the room, only have like a desk lamp with a soft glowing yellow light, and then the glow of the computer screen.
Yeah.
Like 40 hours a week. Like that was soul draining. And like trying to make something out of it, like, okay, well, maybe I can do like little programming things for small companies or build like websites for like my church groups, stuff like that. But bro, it seemed like any direction I tried to turn in was just like, this is soul draining. Like you pretty much are isolating yourself to do any of this stuff.
And when you say programming, I know you mentioned that earlier. That's like coding, right, for apps and stuff like that now?
Straight coding, C++,
wow.
Fortran, COBOL, like all these like old school JavaScript, like all these languages, bro. And
that's
just like
intense,
going,
though, huh? It's got to be.
Oh, yeah.
I took a class in high school on coding, and I couldn't handle that for like the 2 week. We did it for like 2 weeks in the computer class. I couldn't do that for 2 weeks, man. I can only imagine how long you did that for.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, from like 1998 all the way up until 2012.
Wow. That's a lifetime.
Damn, man. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's what was pushed.
Wow.
I mean, I'll be honest, there were moments where like you're going through your code and you're like working out the logic and stuff like that. And when you actually do figure it out, you get a sense of accomplishment. Because I mean, like anything else, if you're busting your ass trying to figure something out and you actually finally figure it out, like that feels really good. But yeah, it's just that process of getting to that end point where it's just like, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, at some point I felt like I was just not in it mentally. My heart wasn't there.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I pretty much started to like self-sabotage myself
Mm.
to essentially give myself an excuse to get out of that industry.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, eventually I left doing programming, and had to do like a hard reset, move back in with my parents, to just kind of figure stuff out. And, popped up to Savannah, not for film. Actually had a cousin who was working at Savannah State in 2013 who told me, we got Savannah State University up here. You want to come out, meet some of the students, meet some of the faculty, get a good idea of just like Savannah in general. And it seemed like a good opportunity to just kind of get a fresh start and, just figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And it just so happened, as I was coming home from work one day, doing 911 dispatch out at Savannah State, I just happened to ride through downtown Savannah and saw there's a college. Had no idea it even existed, but yeah, just decided to pop into the administration building and just like pick up a pamphlet and read a little bit about it. And yeah,
So
bro,
it was
after
a
that,
curiosity thing, kind of like, oh, what's this?
Essentially. And like at the time, I had already started sinking into like these really one-off movies, like stuff you wouldn't find in like a Blockbuster video. These are like movies you would find in like a mom and pop store on a back shelf that somebody just made last weekend and convinced mom and pop to put it on the shelf.
Those could be good and those could be bad at the same time.
Yeah, it's always a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, it was just like, you can feel the passion in these horrible movies.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they use like the worst cameras. You can't understand the dialogue. Like all the graphics, the music just sounds like really crappy, but you can feel the heart in those things. And like that was the thing that really pushed me to like actually explore what SCAD had to offer, and what they can do. Yeah, bro. And it's just like, I can see myself doing this for the long haul.
And before, sorry to cut you off, before you ever saw that school, you didn't know what SCAD was at all?
No clue.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Had no idea a SCAD existed, much less that they had 2 campuses.
Wow. Yeah, they have a lot more now, but when you were there, probably.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But yeah, just went in sight unseen. Like you said, just got curious and went in and picked up a pamphlet, and yeah, they hooked me.
Wow. So when you got in there, did you know exactly what you wanted to do, or did you kind of just like search a little bit?
So I felt like I knew what I didn't want to do.
Okay.
Specifically, I knew that like visuals weren't really my forte. Growing up, my parents really pushed having some kind of like artistic aspect to my life. So they made me, well, they didn't make me. At some point, I actually enjoyed doing piano once a week. They would take me up to the community college in Miami every week, and I would sit with my piano teacher. They got me started when I was like 4. So I was doing it for a long time. Yeah, like to a point where that was kind of like my escape. I felt like, I enjoyed that enough to where if I had to do like programming or any kind of like technical thing on a regular, that, the music and the piano part would be my escape. So that kind of like coming back to SCAD, that kind of led me to realize that I do like the sound aspect of it. I knew that SCAD really wasn't big on music per se. But they did other things, like the sound effects, the dialogue, the Foley. Like I thought the Foley was really fascinating, actually seeing the Foley studio.
And for somebody who doesn't know, about this stuff. Give a little like definition of what these things are that you're talking about. Like, no, I know Nomar doesn't know much about it.
Yeah, so like for sound effects, that is essentially going and like looking at a film and seeing where there are like odd gaps where you would think, like, for instance, if you're watching somebody drink a soda, I know most people realize in reality, when you're drinking a soda, you do not hear the sound of like, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at it on a movie screen, it feels really odd for that to be just a blank space or the sound of just like quiet sipping.
Yeah.
So something like that would be like, all right, let me go in and find that annoying sound effect and drop it in.
Not so people,
make it more obvious. Or, you know, even getting more complicated like that, using, for instance, you all know the movie Jurassic Park. And the whole story behind him up with the sound for the T-Rex. And how they went through various animal sounds and just were trying things out and started combining things. Like they started out with the sound of an elephant.
Yeah. So,
and then there's like,
so sorry to cut you off. So that's kind of like sound effect right there, but that's also sound design. So it gets a little, because now you're designing a sound, right?
Yeah.
You have to make it for that specific character or animal. But go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that goes from like sound effects, just like pulling like a standard sound from a library. To sound design. So you're still pulling stuff from a library, but you're going to start layering stuff. So we start off with the sound of an elephant for this T-Rex. I'm like, okay, that sounds good, but let's see what else we can do. So let's stack the sound of a lion roaring on top of that. Like, all right, we're getting there. I think at one point they said they had to do like some animal that had like really, really heavy low end, like some good bass. Like give that T-Rex some chutzpah. And so, it's just like layering and layering and layering until you get to a point where it's just like, all right, this works. It's unrecognizable enough to where if somebody is asked to just believe this is what it is.
Because you don't know what they sound like, right? Especially a dinosaur. So
exactly. So if you're able to make your audience members suspend disbelief, that's how the sound design comes into play.
For all we know, right?
And
that's what it sounded like, but it probably sounded like, you know?
That's dope because I'm a Star Wars fan, and they kind of did like the complete opposite of that. So I found out that the voices for the stormtroopers was because some guy was holding like a solo cup with his teeth, and he told the producer like, "Hey, open the door," and he's like, "Wait, what?" So he had him talk with the cup, and that's how they recorded all the stormtroopers, like in front of a microphone with a cup in their mouth. There was no editing to it whatsoever. Bro, that's really dope, man.
Yeah, and even funnier, just like, you know, the Transformers movies. Like they were saying the way they came up with the sound effect for the Transformers transforming, it just took some dry ice. And the sound, you know, how it makes like the... just they did some processing on that and just stacked it together to where you can't tell it sounds like dry ice.
Yeah, I would say that's more of the fun. When you get into the films and stuff like that, definitely creating those different sounds and effects, along with other things, like you said, Foley, right?
Yeah, and like the Foley, bro, that in and of itself, like you can just watch somebody do Foley all day. Because what Foley is essentially you have somebody who's recording in the studio, you know, like me and Ebner would do, and then you have a performer who's essentially like watching a cut of the movie and trying to add stuff like footsteps, trying to add stuff like, you know, say if, you know, you're rubbing your chest, you want to hear like a little bit of that cloth rubbing.
Really subtle sounds.
Yeah. And, you know, obviously preferably without rubbing the microphone constantly. Or, you know, just stuff like that where you didn't capture the sound like very well on set, but you don't want to go into like a sound library and pull just like some default sound to throw in. You know, Foley is very to picture.
Okay.
And so, yeah, like something like that, you would have to actually like watch along with the picture, which
like someone walking on
goes
snow, on grass, gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the Terminator is walking, let's say on metal, you have to make it sound heavy, like a heavy foot on.
Yeah, the clink. Yeah.
Yeah, or even when he's like, you know, starting on like a concrete sidewalk and then he starts walking in grass.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to pay attention to that and make sure, like, all right, we're following Arnold along that he's walking on concrete.
Yeah.
All right, now he switched over to grass. So jump in the grass and walk in the grass for a little while.
So does working with sound kind of like ruin a movie experience for you? Like if you go to the movie theaters, are you constantly thinking about how they did things instead of enjoying the movie for what it is?
There are times where, and I feel like that really depends on if the movie is capturing me well enough or not.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if the story isn't there for me and I'm like paying attention to the sound, then that's already red flag number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it depends also on the production, right? Depending on the film, right? If it's a low budget, you can tell, like you're saying. Or if it's like Transformers, you're going to want to watch a Transformers movie versus like, I don't know, the robots, like movie, low budget film. So the production does help, you know, the mixing and what they're doing. For me, it doesn't necessarily ruin the film. I watch movies that I want to watch. So, you know, I don't think that interferes with it. But it's definitely fun. It's the most fun that I've had. So
I will say the one thing that kind of bums me out about doing this now it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz effect, where the curtain has been pulled back and you can kind of see like everything going on behind the scenes. It's like, man, the magic.
Yeah, it's almost like when your parents tell you like Santa Claus isn't real.
Like still Santa Claus,
like
exactly.
Wait, whoa. What you mean, man? What you mean?
Yeah, he's not real. Get over it.
Yeah, bro. But just like that loss of innocence.
Yeah.
Man, it's just a job. You know?
Yeah, that's crazy. I really never thought about like what goes into the movie. I really like, to me, like growing up, it was just you record with the camera and that's it. And the actors just act, but there's a lot that goes into it with the sound too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even with acting, right? Talk to us a little bit about voiceover, Henry. What's that like?
So, man, bro, you get into voiceover, you know, that even breaks down into like, you know, multiple things you can do with that. So a lot of the voiceover I do right now is ADRs, after dialogue recording. They used to call it looping back in the day, but it's essentially the same as Foley. Like you're watching the film on screen, and say maybe like you were delivering your line or your monologue or something, and for some reason we're like filming right next to the airport.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's just like every time you try and say your line, there's a plane flying overhead.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
you have to record it.
Oh my God, bro! I was actually on a set where the producers hit me with the triple threat, where we were right next to the airport, which was right next to train track, which was right next to like an intake for a bunch of semi trucks.
Holy shit, man! Wow.
It's like everything you can possibly think of was right outside of the door.
That happens.
And it's like, and of course, it will inevitably happen. Somebody will walk up to you, either the AD, the assistant director, one of the producers. They're going to walk up and ask you, hey, is this okay? Are we going to be all right? Like, did you hear that airplane flying overhead? Like,
you can't miss it, man.
Yeah, you can't miss. Like, I'm sure you all know we're going to have to re-record this.
Yeah, and those mics too are super sensitive too. They pick everything up. The boom mics that you're holding.
Yeah, people don't realize like they can ruin a take by just having your cell phone on vibrate.
Yeah.
Like it will go off in the middle of somebody's line and it's just like that was just ruined.
Yeah. That's happened.
So we've had those moments happen where it's just like it is what it is. And so yeah, you're just like, yeah, you guys go ahead and write into your budget that you're going to have to come in the studio and re-record these lines. And so, yeah, that's where the ADR comes in, where they come in, they look at their performance and try their best to match what they did on set.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how hard is that? Like, how hard is it to get like back into, like, if it's a dramatic scene, do they have to like get in character and get like back into all of it?
Bro, those are tough. Yeah. When you start getting to like dramatic stuff, it is really difficult to just like bring up those emotions and that mindset, especially if you're on one of these films that have been doing post-production for like, you know, weeks or months. And then they find out, oh, we have to bring this actor in to, you know, redo these lines.
Yeah, and it's been, 6 months since she did the last scene. So...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like, you're really asking these people who have probably gone on and started working on other projects.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, I need you to like take a step back a few months and get back into this mindset for me. And so, yeah, it can be really difficult at times to just like match that performance, you know, the vocal tone, you know, if there was a particular shake in your voice when you were saying something, you know, if your voice went up on this one word or if it went down, like, all these things you have to take into account. So
there's times too when it's not even the actor. They hire a voiceover actor for the scene or whatnot. So it's not necessarily the actor all the time. Like if they can't make it, let's say, they have to hire somebody that sounds like them or similar to. And me and Henry, we've done that for some movies where they can't make it, and we like make it sound like it's them, and it sounds good because we mixed the crap out of it. But I was on a couple films.
Wow.
yeah. Ebner was in a few where he did not get credited, but it was clearly his voice.
But you can't say anything because, and I'm not gonna say what films obviously, but you can't say anything because, you know, directors or whatnot, if they don't know, they're not gonna know if it's him or not. If it sounds like it, just like it. It might have been like, what do you say, like 70%? Kind of matched it, which isn't bad, but sometimes they can't make it because they live so far. So
yeah. Speaking of that, like actors have to come back to do a role. I don't know if you guys seen the last Avengers movie that came out. Robert Downey Jr. in the first take, when he snapped the last time, he didn't say, "And I am Iron Man." They thought about that like 6 months later and called him back in, and he's like, "No, like that was my last film." Like, it completely like messed with him, so he had to get back into the character. Like a bunch of stuff went into it, but he finally went and did it. Yeah. In the first take, he just snapped and it ended there. But they're like, no, it'll be like way better if you say this. But he originally wasn't going to come back and do it.
Wow, that would have had a different feel, don't you think, for the movie if he just snapped?
Dude, yeah.
Instead of saying, "I am Iron Man," like crying with his
I
was like, "Yes, you're Iron Man." Yeah, that movie almost made me cry, man. Watching that movie.
Oh, bro.
Because it's like your childhood comes back. It's characters that you watched growing up, you know.
Oh yeah.
And then you're an adult and you actually see it come to fruition. They actually look like them, the characters, like Captain America, Iron Man. It's really close, like 90. I would say like 90%. You know, that's what they look like.
I'd say the most comic book accurate superheroes have been Wolverine and Iron Man, like 100%. I don't think anybody else can replace those two.
Yeah, Wolverine definitely. He played a good part. Hugh Jackman for that.
Oh yeah, that guy was made for it. And you got to give Patrick Stewart some credit. He was the only person that can play.
Yeah, that's true.
So to continue talking about this, I know you were talking about when you were 4, you played the piano, and I was just curious. When did you notice you started gravitating towards the sound more?
It really kind of reached a head when I was in my undergrad. So, like I was saying, I majored in computers, like computer programming, and that was just to kind of sort of guarantee that I left college with a job. But honestly, like I spent the majority of my time, or at least just as much time, in undergrad, like hanging out in the music building, and just like signing up for choir as like an extracurricular. And it got to a point where I ran out of just like extracurricular classes I could like take. But the choir director was nice enough to be like, look, don't worry about it. We're just going to do this under the table. You keep coming and, you know, this is your outlet. So you're fine to just like keep coming and, you know, keep joining us if you want to. And like at that point, I feel like that's where I kind of reached the peak where it's just like, I don't have to come to this class. You know, I'm not obligated to come. You know, I just come because I enjoy hanging out with the people. I enjoy like performing the music. Like I just enjoy this space. And so I feel like that was the point where it's just like, you know, I can do without, you know, cameras. I can do without the lighting, all that fancy stuff, the stuff that makes things look aesthetically pleasing. I can just focus on like sound, music, audio, in whatever form. And it feels functional. And I'm happy with functional. Like I can get by without aesthetically pleasing, but functionality, like that's where like the sound fell in with me. Like, cause honestly, you think about it, like pretty much everything needs sound unless, you know, right, all the deaf people that might be listening, hopefully everybody caught that. But yeah, bro, it's just like, I don't know. It seems like every aspect of your life has like some degree of sound to it. And there is a need for somebody to help shape that sound and make it make sense to anybody that's listening.
Yeah, I think sound is really important, and it's very close to video. That goes hand in hand. Like we always talk about this, I know, but I know it's video, audio, or I mean, I'm an audio guy, so I would say audio, video, but it goes hand in hand when it comes to film or whatnot. But for music to be such a big part of your life, like even let's say you're working out, if you was to work out on running on a treadmill without music, how far would you run? Without music, you need that sense of like motivation, that sound, you know, to keep you going.
Yeah, I think music is one thing that everybody in the world has in common. Like everybody listens to music.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what it is. Like if you find like a tribe in the middle of the Amazon, they have some sort of music. So like music like speaks to everybody.
Yeah, I just found it interesting that at 4 years old, that's what you gravitated to, like the piano and sound and stuff like that. It's interesting.
And the crazy thing is, like at 4, like what 4-year-old knows what they want to do? Like what 4-year-old knows what they like outside of like chicken nuggets and McDonald's French fries?
Yeah, man, I wanted to be Batman at 4 years old.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, your knowledge pool is so limited. So it's like, you know, my parents, I guess they kind of looked at me and was just like, all right, we're going to try some stuff with them. Because like growing up, I was a fairly quiet kid. Like I got 2 older sisters, but like they're older than me. I think since I told my age, I'm not going to say their age. But yeah, like by the time I realized that like they kind of sort of existed, they were going off to college. Wow. And they were out of the house. And so, yeah, I was a fairly, you know, quiet and, you know, kept to myself type of kid. And, you know, my parents looking at me and it's like, all right, we're not 100% sure what to do with them. So we're going to try some things. So it's like I was saying, you know, I did baseball, did music. I tried doing drawing at some point, but yeah, the piano just seemed to stick. I think what really helped was my piano teacher. She was not used to working with kids as young as I was, but somehow or another we met at the right time and space to where I showed up on her doorstep and she was just like, I've never done this before, but I've always wanted to try working with someone as young as I was. And so it was kind of like an experiment for both of us. So it worked out really well. We spent all those years, you know, from me being like 4 until I'm well into college, her learning me and, you know, me like learning her and us kind of forming that relationship over the years. And yeah, just like, learning discipline, like how to sit, how to behave, like, bowing if I want to introduce myself, just like all these different things and life hacks that really just benefited me.
So she was almost like a mentor, kind of.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, essentially, bro. And yeah, just like one of the few people that can say like she watched me like grow up.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just like that whole experience just kind of stuck with me and just carried me even now. Like the music that I listen to is very analog. So a lot of like digital music, synthesizer stuff, I tend not to gravitate towards.
So you don't really like what's it called, dubstep and stuff like that?
I can appreciate that stuff depending on if they do something interesting or catchy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that stuff, especially like a lot of the music and beats that are put out today, it feels similar, like too similar.
They're all the same thing.
Like hip hop's like that, right?
Yeah, it's like I don't know exactly what it is, if it's just like all these pre-programmed beats that are in these music programs or what, and like people are just reusing them over and over, or what the deal is. But it just, I don't know, I just don't gravitate towards that. Usually anything that has like analog piano, like a guitar, violins, brass, woodwinds, stuff like that, stuff you would typically find in like an orchestra setting, is usually what I gravitate towards. Even if it's like, electronic music, like if they find a way to incorporate that stuff, like that sticks out to me. It feels like it's something that not a lot of people are doing or know how to do. Like they're not used to like analog stuff.
So talking about piano, you say you've been playing since 4 till almost college. Can you still play real well? What kind of music do you play if you still play?
Bro, strictly classical.
Nice.
Like I tried playing church music. I never could get like how you play church music. That always escaped me.
So for you would say it's more of memorization when you learn?
It's more memorization. And I tried my best to break this habit, but playing a lot by ear. Yeah. That was one of the things my teacher really tried to break. Like she wanted me to read more. And like I was able to read music. I was able to get through choir pretty well. But just something about reading chords and trying to like work all those notes out in my head at once and then process all that and get it down to my fingers and be like, all right, this is what you just read. This is what you need to play. Like I never really got great at that. And it's just, I always just leaned on just like memorizing. Let me listen to this. Like, I think I got it. I think I can repeat it, and I think I can kind of fake the funk. I can pretend like I'm reading the music, but in reality, it's like, no, I've memorized this. I don't need to look at the music.
Yeah, man.
What makes church different? What makes church music differently than the classical music you're used to playing?
The freestyling.
Oh, okay.
It's something about the church music, like, bro. I actually, when I was in undergrad in Tallahassee, bro, there was this church I went to every week where the organ player, I don't know where he was from. Like, I don't know how they found him. But it was just the funniest thing. Like, at the end of each church service, they would do like an altar call. And so it's just like, come and go do your prayers, accept God and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And the organ player's like playing in the background, just like this soft music. It's like real calming. And then all of a sudden, you start slipping in some like Willy Wonka music. And it's just like, you're still trying to stay in the moment of church and just like this really reverent moment. But then you're like looking up, it's like, take a drink and you'll think something, no. And it just sneaks right in and it just goes right back into like regular church music, like nobody noticed.
Yeah, maybe he did it to troll, but that's
I'm sure he
funny.
did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. Then like there would be some weeks like he would just sneak in a little bit of Master P. Like I know we're in church, but that sounds like some Master P's playing right there.
He was probably trying to see who the lukewarm Christians were. He's like,
yeah, scanning the room. Like, gotcha.
Oh my god!
I see.
Yeah, bro. I swear, it's like I always found that so cool, but I can never just like freestyle like that. It's just like you have to be able to like change and shift and just do things on the fly, depending on how the pastor is feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, these pastors will just like start off in one key and start singing, and then all of a sudden they're just like jumping to another key, and it's just like, no. Like I don't know, like my finger positions on the piano. You just completely thrown me off. So yeah, bro, like I always figured if I were in a position like that, I'd get fired like my first day on the job. Like,
you think that has anything to do with like how deep into church you are? Because I know like somebody who's not really into church won't feel the message from the pastor as well as somebody that has been there for years.
That was probably part of it. 'Cause like I've always kind of been lukewarm on the church environment, not necessarily like the whole spirituality of the thing, but just like the organized part of it.
Okay.
And so, yeah, like I was always fascinated with everything else, like surrounding like the idea of church, just like, you know, the back end deal, just like, you know, how things work. Like, how do you make like this machine of religion go?
Yeah.
But actually like sitting in and like getting all invested in the message. And it's like, sure.
Yeah.
But nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes it doesn't hit home though, the messages.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I feel like that kind of like made me take a step back and not get super invested in that world.
And talking about reading music, right? Sorry to cut you off. Was it to you when you read music? Was it more robotic, kind of like when you'd read it? Because that's what I kind of felt when I'd read the music and versus like playing by ear. When I was playing by ear, it felt more free. It felt more like I could be more creative versus the reading of this is how it goes, and you're kind of just playing along. Because I used to play saxophone in all through high school, from elementary to high school, so I'm familiar with that reading of the music as well.
I thought reading the music really, it made it difficult to actually focus on like the notes that I was playing.
Yeah.
Because that was like my biggest thing. Like I can't read and look at the keyboard at the same time. Like if I do that, I'm going to play so slow.
Yeah, it's gotta be kind of hard to do, huh? Multitasking.
Yeah, and that's what really kind of like persuaded me to use my ears more than my eyes to get through the music.
Yeah.
Because like I said, bro, trying to like put those chords together is like, all right, my pinky's on the first. I think my middle finger's on like the third. I think I got to put my thumb on like the fifth. But then this next chord, it moves up to the sixth. And then the chord after that, I got to come back down to like, what is it, like the diminished sixth?
And
like,
all this is in seconds, in like real time.
Yeah, I cannot process all that. And especially if you're playing like a fast song that requires you to just like, you got to go. And you have to be able to keep up.
Like gospel music, that's how that is. Fast.
Yeah. My brain is just not going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, I took guitar in high school freshman year.
I didn't know that.
Dude, I always wanted to play guitar. I hated it after the first semester. The teacher ruined it for me because I told him I couldn't. That was my problem too. I couldn't really read the music because it was my first time ever playing guitar. I was pretty good because I could hear a song and play it. Like I knew what chords it was if I'm playing it. But when you give me the chords in front of me, I can't do it. So I'm telling him like, dude, I can hear the song and I'm doing perfectly fine like that. I'm hitting all the chords correctly. In fact, I'm doing it better than the kid that's been reading music his whole life. He can't get the song down, but I know it. They told me, it's like, if you can't listen if you can't just get a piece of paper and start playing, you're not going anywhere in like this industry. So I was like, okay, then I was like, whatever. I was like, thanks, like you ruined that for me now, because I got to the point, because I took the class for a whole year. I got to the point where I could hear any song and like play it. Obviously not like amazing, but I could get it down. But after he told me like, oh, you have to follow the music, it ruined it for me. Because he didn't teach me anything about it. He just handed me a piece of paper. I'm like, I don't know how to read this shit. Like, it's my first time ever picking up a guitar and paper. I don't know how to do it.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is good mentorship, right? Like you had, Henry.
Yeah.
With that teacher. Mm-hmm. So that's the blessing, to have a person from 4 years old almost to what you said, high school or college, you said? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. I wish I had that mentorship growing up all the way, like the same person. I had bits and pieces of people growing up. So I'd learn a little bit here, a little bit there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro, it's nice having that consistency. And I will say it did benefit me when I got to college and started doing like the choir. Just like struggling, trying to figure out like the chords and stuff like that. When it got reduced down to just like, all right, all you have to do is sing like your part. You don't have to worry about like, you know, the sopranos. You don't have to worry about like the altos or any of that. Just worry about your line, bro. Yeah, just going through one line, having to worry about one note, and just going down the bars. I was so thankful that my teacher really kind of pushed me to practice my reading and get that under my belt. Because like I said, I'm not perfect at it, but if you give me something, you know, simple, maybe like one or maybe two notes, I can probably make it through that.
Yeah, and I think as a kid, it's important, right, to figure that out. Like, you learn something new, see if you like it or if you don't. Like the piano thing, or like playing baseball or whatnot. Like Nomar with the guitar, I'm pretty sure you would have kept going, right? If
I would have loved to keep going.
How come you didn't keep going? What kind of music would you play with that, like the guitar? Just like rock and roll?
Well, that was like standard music from like the 80s, which is what he wanted us to play. But like I said, like we were, so the first song that I had to learn was Stand By Me. So I did perfectly fine with it, but I went home, I listened to it, and then I went back to class and I played it the next day. But I just had a piece of paper in front of me, so he thought I was following the notes. So when I told him about it, he kind of set me up. So like, this is what ruined everything for me. I told him, I was like, I don't know how to read the music. So I just went home and listened to it and practiced until I got it. So at the end of the year, he told me, you're playing this song, and he gave me the notes for a different one. So obviously I don't know how to read that shit, so I wasn't paying attention to it. So I played a song, and he told me, no, you got a 0 on it because you played the completely wrong song. So I was like, what are you talking about? I played the song you told me. He's like, yeah, I told you to learn one thing, but you should have known when I gave you this piece of paper that we changed it last minute. So I was like, okay, so I had no time to practice it, even if I was aware of how to read music, I was just going to go up there and look stupid anyways. But after that, I didn't take guitar ever again.
That's not a right way to mentor somebody. You have to guide them in the right way. Yeah, that's kind of that's messed up. Because I'm pretty sure what pissed him off.
Yeah, I think what pissed him off the most is that he had a student that he had been teaching from a younger age, but he couldn't play the song like me. So I went home, and like I said, I always wanted to play guitar. The kid's parents forced him to play guitar, so he didn't really care much for it. So obviously, my version of it was better because I cared about it. I put the time in. Like I was passionate about it. I put the time in, whereas he didn't. So his didn't sound as good. His parents were there, and it made him look like a shitty teacher. So I think that's why he did all that.
Yeah, just to make himself look good, I guess, right? So he could keep getting paid and getting clients. Sometimes people do that.
I mean, I'm sure I could have gone to the principal's office and like made a big deal about it, but I was like, you know what, whatever. Whatever. I'm not gonna want to touch a guitar after that, anyways.
I mean, I think you should keep going though. That's just a little motivation there. Now I'm interested to hear you play a little bit.
I mean, I've thought about it, but I don't know.
I mean, it makes for a good escape. Like if you're coming home from like a day of work or whatever, and you just need to sit on the couch and just strum for a little bit.
For sure.
So I've
been thinking about it for a couple months.
I think you should, man. So was it an electric guitar or acoustic?
That was the acoustic.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to get into electric eventually, but I wanted to learn the acoustic first.
Taylor Swift, okay. Swizzy. So, Henry, I also wanted to talk to you about your audio production company. Tell us a little bit about that and what you guys do there.
Yeah, bro. So I have a audio production company. It is called Caramel Cricket Audio, not caramel, not caramel. Caramel Cricket Audio. And we do production audio. We also do post-production audio. And so essentially, if you're on set, you see a guy standing off in the corner with just like a microphone on a long pole, or maybe like some kind of what looks like a mixer or some kind of device just like hanging around his midsection.
It's like a fanny pack. With
like a little fanny pack. Yeah, glowing fanny pack. Yeah, that is going to be our audio company. We're there. We're capturing audio on set. We do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, news capture stuff. Right now, we're currently working on a documentary.
Nice.
And so,
what's
we do all
called?
kinds of things. Documentary, it's still a working title, but it is called the Rosenwald Documentary Project.
Nice.
It is essentially talking about Julius Rosenwald, who was the partner of, I forget his first name, but the owner of Sears Roebuck. They worked together for a while, and Rosenwald, back in the early 1900s, decided to drop some cash on some schools for black students, for black kids, to give them an education beyond the 8th grade.
Wow.
And so, he started dropping these schools all around the South, in a lot of farm areas, Mississippi, Alabama, Carolinas, Arkansas, Florida. And what we're focused on specifically is the Florida school, just because they were different from the other schools in that the Florida Rosenwald High School was in Panama City Beach, a coastal town that didn't really specialize in farming. They were mostly like tourists, fishing area, military bases. And so we're just kind of taking a look at how they were different from just like the farming Rosenwald high schools and like that whole dynamic. And also looking at what that whole experience was like, because the school itself was open all the way up until 1967. That was when they were doing the whole civil rights movement. They were doing public school desegregation and just going through a whole lot of changes in the country. And so we're going through and interviewing the students that actually experienced that, and getting their accounts of what it was like of having to integrate, being taken out of an all-black school and being shoved into an all-white school and seeing what that adjustment was like.
And it's basically forced, right? They forced that upon. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much told you one day, like, hey, your school's closing, so deal with it. And just getting accounts of, what it was like, again, like I was saying, since this wasn't a farming community, like they dealt with tourists, like they dealt with the military, like they dealt with people that didn't have the typical, Southern black experience. And just like that whole attitude of going to a white school and not being intimidated, by all these white students.
That's a very interesting documentary, man. I would definitely like to check it out when it comes out, for sure, once that's done.
Bro, I tell you what, I'll do you one better. I'll make sure you check it out when we're editing the audio.
Oh, look at that. I got a sneak peek, man. That's awesome.
I have a question about that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So when you said all black school, was it just the students that were all black, or were the teachers also black?
All the students, all the teachers, all the administrators, every single person in that school was a black face.
Wow.
That's kind of interesting why they would try to take all those schools away. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I think, well, you know, the idea was to try and better relations between the races back in those days by like combining and diversifying and, you know, making sure that we all, we want to get along. But it's like one of the things that they didn't take into account was the specialized education methods that one school offered versus the other school.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you can imagine if you're in like an all black school, you have all black teachers, all black administrators. Bro, these people are going to see you in their neighborhoods. They're going to see you at church. They're going to see you at the supermarket.
It's a cultural
teachers
difference.
are going. It's a cultural difference, bro. Like the teachers are calling home to your parents and being like, "Yo, no, your kid did something really, really messed up in class. Like I disciplined him at school. You need to do the same thing at home." Like there's that involvement that just wasn't there in the white schools. Like you're not going to go to an all-white school and see your white teacher at your black church.
Yeah.
I wonder why it wasn't the other way around. Why they didn't shut down the white schools and put them in the black schools?
I mean, I'm sure we can speculate. Yeah, I'm sure we can jump to our own conclusions. But yeah, I'm just going to say that it was probably more beneficial for, I don't know what to.
America, probably, right?
Yeah.
The American agenda, probably, right?
Yeah. It was more beneficial for the American agenda to say, we're going to pull you in our direction rather than us coming in your direction.
Yeah, make them feel uncomfortable versus us feeling uncomfortable or whatnot.
Which I think that if they would have done it the other way, it might have actually worked out better, to be honest.
I think so. I think, not to say anything, but I feel like there's more compassion within our cultures, right? Versus the white cultures. They're more, it's more firm, right? It's more black and white than saying I love you to your son or whatnot. Even though some white cultures are like that, because they are. But maybe I'm talking about back in the day, right? When those schools were around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Were you guys able to interview somebody that was a teacher in the school at the time, or no?
We actually interviewed somebody that she was too young to know the details, but she was old enough to actually remember the original school building.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And she gave us a really nice account of just like, this 5-room shack that they had all the students in. And just like, this was something that a bunch of guys from the community just came together. They brought their tools from home. They went out and, they got the wood, got the nails, and they just came together and they built the school as a community.
This is something that's not talked about in history, because I would have never known about this if you didn't bring this up. I didn't know that there was a whole bunch of just black schools, all black, around those areas, and they built so many. I didn't know that.
Bro, like one of the main reasons that we're doing this documentary is because this whole push down in Florida to just like erase history. They already kind of lit my fire when they didn't try. They did discourage like Latin history in public schools. It's like, that's already like a big no. And then you're saying like, all right, well now we're going to focus on like critical race theory. Like, all right, that's not taught in anything below college, but all right, another red flag. they put out this news story saying that they're not going to offer AP African American Studies in high school anymore. And really that was the thing that did it for me. But I have a nephew now who just started ninth grade this year. And for him to walk into that environment, being told that he's not allowed to learn about his own history, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, because America is built on all different cultures. So you can't just take that away from one school and just showcase another one. Like versus
Plus, if you think about it, they don't want to teach Black history because it shows you that the white people back in the day were the villains. So why would I teach you something that's going to make me look bad, basically?
Yeah, and they're trying to delete it or erase it.
It's messed up because you did it. Not you, not the people from right now, but it was done.
It's part of history. Yeah, I mean,
you gotta, they'll teach you all about Nazi Germany, but they don't teach you the slavery segment of school was not even a week long, not even a school week. We learned about it Monday, and by Wednesday we were talking about something else. So I was like, whoa, it happened for a long time.
Yeah. And it's not to say that, it's so bad that it shouldn't be talked about. I feel like it's something that needs to be put out on the table so people can acknowledge it, recognize it for what it is. And then particularly, the stuff that's been happening recently, but acknowledge it and then move on, grow from it. Because if you can't acknowledge that you have a problem, then you're never going to grow.
With the class you just said they took away. Yeah, with the class you just said they took away, they don't have to make it a mandatory class, but at least leave it there for people that want to learn their history.
Yeah, exactly. And then the thing they don't realize is taking that away from high school students, an AP class counts towards college credit.
Yeah.
So you're telling me if a student decides to go to an HBCU college, then that African American history class, you can't take that to a Black college. That's just taken off of the table outright, which that seems silly. I didn't take AP history, but I would have been able to do that when I was going through high school. I could have taken that to my school and had that off of my curriculum.
Yeah.
But it's just now, no, they're not even giving kids the option to do that.
Because at that point, it's too late. You're already an adult pretty much. So that's why American culture doesn't grow. It stays stagnant because of that reason. Because you're showing people late. All of the history is shown late when you're already an adult, where you have to pay bills and does it matter? It matters when you're growing up knowing that stuff. So
that's why they say history repeats itself. So you're teaching me this when I'm an adult. Pretty much now it doesn't matter to me. You should have brought me up with it.
Yeah, bro. So I'm hoping that, maybe doing things this way where it's not officially in public schools.
Yeah.
But it's just a tangent project that if you want to learn a little bit more about your heritage, your history and stuff like that, you have resources available we'll provide to you.
And that's kind of what LeBron James is doing now too, right? With the school he opened. Is it an all Black school, if I'm not mistaken? I think so.
I believe it is. Yeah.
Cleveland, right, or something like that.
Yeah, for underserviced kids or something like that.
Yeah, where they get full scholarships, they get breakfast and lunch for free. They get books for everything free. It's a great school.
Yeah, bro.
I think it cost them $100 million or something like that to build or to fund or something like that. But definitely that's what's needed more in America, because I know a lot of the Jewish culture, they have schools from not elementary, middle school to high school, where they have a specific Jewish school where they learn about their history, they learn about their culture and things like that. That's what's needed in America, I think.
Yeah, bro, because when it starts getting to a point where you have, teachers and parents and whatever just coming in and being like, yo, you're not going to teach this stuff anymore because you're going to offend my kid.
Right. Or pushing their own agenda, like the transgender agenda and stuff like that. Because some teachers have that. They want to teach that stuff, Which is, I don't know. It's ridiculous. Like I think
Yeah.
everything
I think
should
it's
be
just
taught.
people nowadays are soft. Like people nowadays can't. Like I don't know. It's weird, man.
They don't want to accept the
Like
history of what
they
it
get
really
offended
was.
so easily. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
truth. This
I
is what
know.
happened. Let's move on from this. How can we move on and be better than what we were?
Yeah.
But they want to stay stuck in the same.
The thing that is,
Yeah.
most people don't want to get better. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They
They still
want.
wanna
I think
act
they
like it
want like a
was back in the
fallback
day.
plan, right? Where it's like
Oh, it wasn't
a
your
security
fault.
blanket
No,
kinda.
like shit.
Yeah. Bro, it's like, unfortunately, that's not always going to be the case. Like, you're going to have to face some hard truths at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, bro, the American history has a lot of hard truths. Like, at some point,
Yeah, man.
like, you got to own up.
And what you think you know
Yeah.
isn't even the whole truth either.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yeah,
of
bro, that's
things that are hidden.
Bro, we're finding that out just like going and talking to some of these people and just finding out, like, oh, there's more to the story than most people realize. It's like
Yeah,
the
like
whole.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
When
I
I
was
was
going
in
to
school down here,
Mhm.
there was this kid who he had like his own group. Like they let him kind of like teach it after school, which he would teach people about Black history, which was cool. I went to it a couple of times and I learned a lot that I had no idea about. And he got into an argument with some kid who he called racist. It was a white kid. And he said, oh, like you and your ancestors did this to my people. And I was like, damn, like it's true. Like his ancestors did that. But then the white kid said something to him that like caught my attention. He said, okay, I'm not my ancestors. I did not do that.
Yeah.
He said, I understand that you have hard feelings towards my ancestors, but I'm not the one who did that to you. And so I don't understand why you're coming at me like that.
Yeah.
And then he actually apologized. He said, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. And then they worked it out, bro. I was like, that's all you got to do. Just talk. Just talk to one another. And it's that simple, man.
And I think that's why they say this phrase, right? The truth shall set you free, because if you
Yeah.
accept the truth that happened, then you can move on. You can forgive. You can move on. But if you just keep that hidden and then people find out and it wasn't told to them, wouldn't you be a little upset about something if you didn't know about it?
Yeah, but also don't turn around and do the same thing that you know other people did. Like, don't say the same things that they said before.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, better yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Because there are people to actually focus your ire on. This random Joe Blow on the street is most likely not that person.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Also, with the audio production company that you have, what else do you guys do? I know you mentioned post production. So production is on set, and post production is after the film is produced, right?
Yeah. So after they've done all of their editing, they've chopped up the movie, they've pasted all of their scenes together, and they feel like they have a solid film that's ready to be edited by the sound person. That's where we step in and do our post-production work. So that's where we do our dialogue editing. We go in and make sure that, whatever the actor is saying is semi-accurate and it sounds natural. We do our sound effects editing if there's something that needs to go in the scene that we might have missed on set, or maybe we have like something happening off screen that we need to make believable. We'll go in and do that. We'll do our voiceovers on our ADR. If somebody needs to come in and redo lines, we do Foley. Although at this point we're still working on getting an official studio. And we do have somebody that does music.
Yeah, along with the post production, there's also something we didn't talk about earlier, which was called scoring, which is the music that you hear on the film as well.
Which, to be clear, for anybody that's watching, listening, doing music or dropping in music to a movie and scoring to picture are two different things. So anybody that intends on working on a movie in the future, anybody that plans on getting into the industry, know before you get into this thing, going into your music library and just dropping in some Dr. Dre is not the same as watching a movie, figuring out what the high points are, what the low points are, and how you can accentuate those points.
Yeah, because that sets the tone for the film, right?
Exactly.
What's scaring you? Why did it scare you? Why are you feeling this way? So it answers all those questions with the music that's being played.
Yeah, the music can change a scene like completely. It's crazy. I saw this video that like off of a Harry Potter movie. He's talking to one of the older teachers, and they put like some sexual music in the background, and I was like, "Holy shit!" It completely changed the scene. Mm-hmm. She's like whispering to him, so they put the original where it's like dark music. And you're like, "Damn, she's gonna kill him." When they put the other music, you're like, "Oh, it's this. She wants him."
So it was like, a thing on social media where they switched it up. You said.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like, the music really changes the scene completely.
Yeah, it really does. And that's why scoring a picture is so important, because you're essentially helping the video editor manipulate the audience.
Yeah.
You're essentially telling your audience how you want them to feel when they're watching what's on screen. So, you'll have like your music editor going in, and he'll like watch a scene, or she'll watch a scene. And, like, for instance, say like a guy and a girl are on screen making love, like, they'll play like some real soft music, maybe throw in like, I don't know, some real kinky sound effects in the background to really just like enhance what's going on. And then the audience knows that, okay, I'm watching these people make love. I shouldn't be feeling repulsed because the music is not telling me that I should feel repulsed.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it also could change. Like, I know a lot of horror films, a couple will be making love. Let's say they're camping in the woods, and all of a sudden you see the killer or something. Then that changes, right? So you go from that making love music to like, oh shoot, someone's gonna get stabbed, and then you feel it. Like as the viewer, you feel that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that also goes hand in hand, right? When I was talking about the video and the audio, that goes hand in hand. Visually, you see it, so it makes you feel a certain way, but you really feel the scene, audio-wise, sound-wise.
Mm-hmm. No, I have a question for both of you guys, like, since you guys work on movies. So I know that you deal with the voices and all the sounds that everybody deals with, like mix and mastering as well. So do you get tired of like constantly listening to the same scenes to the point where you don't even watch the film after it's done? Or you just watch it like one time and that's it because like you're tired of it?
You can go first.
It depends on the movie.
Okay.
I have worked on films, mostly like narrative films fall into that category where it's just like, I've seen this enough times. I don't need to watch the final product.
Mm.
Yeah.
'Cause like, for us, like we go on set and then we also do post-production. So that's like doubly listening to everything over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, in those situations, it's just like, I don't want to see the final product. I've seen it enough while, recording and editing. But like for, say, documentaries or something where it's just like a one-take thing, you only get this story in one way. Stuff like that, I like seeing the final product. It was good to see how they piece these things together.
Mm-hmm.
All the effects we got, how is that going to be overlaid with what these people are talking about. And it's really cool to see like what the editors come up with in those situations, how they make a compelling story out of just like one take wonders.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for me, for the mixing part, I do get tired of it, listening to it over and over. It's important to have a second ear. So sometimes I'll send it over to Henry. He'll listen to it. He'll give me some feedback on it. Sometimes if I'm on set, right, like we've been on set and then we work on it after, it gives you a better perspective on what to look for while you're doing like the post-production, which I think helps.
Yeah.
It gives you the upper hand because then you know what you're getting yourself into. You know what needs to be re-recorded. You know what effects are going to go where. You know what music is going to set the tone where, right? Even though on set it's a little different because you get to see all the behind the scenes stuff as well.
Yeah.
But definitely, I do get tired of it. Sometimes I will watch the film. Sometimes I won't. There's films where I have not seen because they're just not good. And they're not interesting to me. But I'll work on them. I think the last one.
That's another thing I was gonna ask.
Like that.
Like, have you guys ever worked on a film like you just didn't want to be a part of, but you got paid, so you do it anyways?
I feel like I want to call out the movie, but I couldn't.
I think for me, during the SCAD years, when we were doing a lot of student films, it was more like that, where we wouldn't get paid, but we'd still do it for the learning process. But I think at this point, after we went through that experience, I don't think. I think if we're not into it, because there was one that was brought to our attention. I think it was called Zombies and Tits or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were not into it, and we didn't do it. We weren't part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you just have to say no, and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is nice to finally be able to get to that point in your life where you can say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It came out, though, the movie Zombies and Tits.
No kidding.
It came out, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
it was literally, that's what it was, though. It was like a Lorno kind of.
Okay. All right. So no false advertising then.
I don't know. I could be lying. I could be lying a little bit, but no, literally that's what it was. It was like zombies, like women zombies, and then they were showing a lot of breastises, you know. But yeah, so on a more serious note, I know the actors and writers strike was going on. Has that been affecting the production, the audio production company at all, or anything in Georgia? Like, what's going on over there from your perspective and stuff?
So, kind of yes, kind of no. So with the strike, thankfully they have reached a tentative agreement.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. You know, they still have to, I believe they still have to vote to make sure that the union members are okay with the deal. But, yeah, in theory, it should be coming to an end. But, yeah, yes and no. It kind of affected us in so much that we couldn't do, like, you know, films or, like, major films at any studios. You know, if you don't have writers or actors on set, what are you doing?
Right. Especially the writers, though. Especially the writers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that really was just like, you know, a kick in the kidney. But thankfully, you know, our company, we're diverse enough to where if we need to pivot to another aspect of the sound field, we can.
That's great.
So yeah, we were able to do some more like live sound for like, you know, concerts and corporate events and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which, you know, obviously is a little less demanding, but a little bit more boring than being on a film set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kept the doors open.
That's great.
And
so that's another thing that you guys also do along with the production. It could be that type of stuff too. Like even commercials, like if you're on a commercial set, things like that. That's another production that could be being made rather than a film, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like one of the secrets about sound is that it looks complicated going from one thing to another, just like looking at it across the board. But honestly, once you get into like the theory of sound, it's really all the same. Like, you know, you have to make something loud or you have to make something quiet.
And it has to
somebody's
sound
talking into it has to sound good. You know, somebody has to talk into a microphone. You know, you have to either hear what they're saying in your headsets or through some speakers. Like there's commonality, no matter where you go with sound. And so it was kind of easy to just like transfer that knowledge and pivot and do something else in the interim.
Okay.
So I know me and Nomar were talking about this on the last podcast we had, and we were talking about the AI aspect of the reason why the writer's strike was going on. Is that the reason from your opinion? The AI generated stuff?
Yeah, that was part of the reason. It was a reason within a bigger reason. So essentially, I know you're old enough to remember like sitcom television. No more.
No more.
I'm sure
Have you seen
remember.
Full House, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I watched, yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I watched.
Yeah, just like sitcoms and stuff like that. So, like the old model back in the day was just like, a writer would write a script for a show, and they would sell it to a studio, and the studio would pay them for their script. And part of that contract when they sold that script was that, all right, well, if you're going to be airing these episodes that I just showed you, like I need to make some kind of residual money off of that because
royalties.
Yeah, I just collected a lump sum of like $100,000 off of this one script. But this show is going to run for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Like I might not sell another script until this same time next year.
Yeah, man.
And I got to make this $100,000 stretch for 12 months. And now, that price is even lower.
It's harder over there in Hollywood too, in California.
Yeah, the studios are trying to. Yeah, they're switching the writing jobs from like full-time jobs. They're trying to make them gigs now.
Oh, like freelance gigs.
Exactly.
Oh, so no health benefits, no dental, no 401k.
Yeah. Everything is taken off the table. Yep, we only pay you one time, and we might not have to bring you back again. We'll have your script that we can put into our program, and it'll pick up on just like, all right, well, these are like good beginnings. I can pick out like some good middles, some conflicts. I can figure out some good characters, and we can piece something together that works enough as a script.
Yeah.
Like a bullshit show.
Exactly.
Yeah. And apparently, if the show was on television, they would get some money from that. But if they sold the show to Netflix or Hulu or whatever, they weren't getting anything from it being streamed. But now they do. Now they're trying to get some of that.
And that was the whole argument. It's just like you have these super popular shows on Netflix and Hulu and everything, and you can measure how many people are watching.
Oh, yeah.
Like I know you have numbers that are coming in. You can say. We just had 1 million people watch this pilot episode.
Plus, it tells you which show is number one for that week, too. So that would suck if it's your show and you're not getting anything from it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like these studios are trying to pass off this excuse like, oh, well, we're not quite sure how the show is going to do, so we really can't promise you that we're going to be able to guarantee residuals. So the best we can do is just give you this lump sum and hope that it'll last you until you can sell another script.
And me and Omar were talking about that. That happened to Tiffany Haddish. She did a movie, I think, Girls Trip, and they were supposed to pay her, and they didn't, and it blew up. And since she wasn't part of a union, which is very important if you're an actor or a writer, she didn't get paid any royalties or anything. So she got paid zero for that.
Yeah, bro, it's amazing. Like when you're out there on your own and trying to fend for yourself, like the traps that you can fall in. Like you were saying, she wasn't part of a union.
No, that's
so
when
it was
she started
essentially
to.
Yeah, so bro, I'm sure you can imagine like how intimidating that is for it to be you versus like these studio lawyers.
Yeah.
And trying to argue like why like they're in the wrong and you're in the right.
And then the lingo is always different for those contracts or whatnot. So you don't even know what you're reading or signing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it came to a head, bro. And I get it. You just want to live your life. You don't want to live out on the street. Yeah. And for these people to say that, your work is not important enough for us to keep you on board as like a full-time or even like a part-time employee. Like you're just a gig worker to come in, drop off your script, and we'll call you. Maybe.
And Nomar brought up a good point earlier. We were discussing this. What was the deal? What was the description of the deal that you said earlier?
Oh, I think they said that obviously they'll get some money based off of the streaming views, and part of the contract now said they got like 90% of everything they asked for. Part of it was that they had to have a certain amount of writers for shows and movies on set
which
at all
is
times.
Important. It's important to have many writers for a show.
Mm-hmm.
One writer can get burnt out quick.
Yeah. Not only that, but you don't have anybody to kick your ideas off of.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Might be funny to you, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but that's really good that they got a minimum that you can have on set.
And what else was there? What other terms were there for that?
I think that's the only one that I saw because it was one of the dudes explaining it.
Definitely the biggest thing.
I think that's very important to have that collaborative effort. One or two writers can go off of each other and do a pretty good job, but if you have at least 4 that are really good writers, that's you have a better show, a better written show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were also able to get the request for like getting residuals again, because the studios were really fighting hard to not have to pay these writers for like when their shows get popular. But yeah, I think they ended up caving in and just like they gave that to them as well.
That's important. Mm-hmm. A lot of these CEOs for these companies and studios are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're trying to pay writers.
Not doing anything, man.
Yeah, they're trying to pay the writers which create the show. Initially, like $100 grand, $200 grand, which is not enough to live off of. You know, you can pay somebody.
Give the actor millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. Like, it sounds like a lot, but you also have to remember, like, once you get that money, you got to take your taxes out.
Yep.
So that's already, like, chopping into what you're going to be living off of. And then if you have an agent, like your agent is actually farming your script out to other people, you got to pay them a percentage of what you're making. So, like, all these things that chip away into that money that you thought was coming in, it's just like it's not.
That's true, because it's not just $100,000 in your account. Like, that's crazy.
You get like 80,000, 75 grand probably from all that.
Maybe,
If that.
Like you said, you have to pay everybody.
Yeah. Depending on like the people you have, like trying to help you out and help you work your stuff. And because they were saying, I think like the agents, bro, like they take 10% off of the top.
Oh man,
like right off of the top, bro. So it's not after taxes, bro. So
wow, as soon as you see the money, 10%'s gone.
It's gone.
So that's 90 grand.
Wow.
And then you got to pay the government, depending on what state you live in, that percentage.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
and mind you, the government is taking off of that 100,000. It's not taking off after the agents are taking the 10%.
Wow.
Yeah, they want more.
Yeah. Bro, yeah, people are getting hit left and right.
Yeah, and it's also not the writers, it's also the actors. I think the actors came after to support the writers, because without the writers, there's no actors, right?
Yeah.
So they obviously have to fall in line with what's going on, or else, they won't have the opportunity. But me and Noma were also talking about last podcast about the AI aspect of things, where I also heard that, like you were talking about earlier, AI generated scripts, right? Where they put it in a program and they generate a script, and then they're trying to get the actors' facial recognition to just use the face and put it on somebody else and keep them young and keep acting. With Leonardo DiCaprio, let's say, for an example. So he can stay young forever and make all this money, and he won't see any of the money. Only the studio will.
Yeah.
So that's also what they're fighting for, too.
And then you give no chance for new actors, too.
And that's the thing they were arguing the most. Like, new actors and background actors would be affected the most.
Yeah.
Because, like, bro, how many background actors can you name by name?
Yeah. Not a single
I know
one.
Tom was in a movie.
I can say we just happen to know somebody that was there, but you know, you ask the average person, like, yeah, you might recognize like that face that you see in every other movie. It's like that background actor. Like, I know that background actor, but for the most part, people don't know a background actor by name. And so, yeah, if the studio's looking at it in that regard, like, why are we going to bring you back over and over to come and act? You know, we have to pay you to get out here. We have to feed you. Like, we have to do all these things. Like, no, let's just let's do a motion capture of your face, of your body.
That's frustrating.
Let's get everything we can. You know, we'll just pay you for a day. Then after that, we own your image.
They don't
We can
even
use
get
it in
paid a
whatever
lot
movie.
either, though. I think for
Nope.
one scene a day, they get what, 1,200, maybe $3,000 the most. For what, 12 hours?
Actually,
Less.
no. Honestly, bro, they don't get paid even that much.
Look at that.
Like talking to some of the background actors, yeah, it's rough. A lot of them just come out just for the exposure.
Jesus, man.
And so, yeah, bro, these people are giving up their likeness and essentially their being, and being told, yeah, you don't own this anymore.
But how can you take my face and put it on something else without paying me? Like,
so let me present this contract to you, and don't read any of the fine print. Just sign it.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's how they get caught, by not reading.
Yeah, I'll summarize this thing for you. You don't have to read anything.
It's almost like terms and conditions.
You're basically selling yourself, man. Yeah.
Like when you do a user agreement for like an app or something, you don't read all that. You just click it.
It's messed up because even if you tell them no, they'll just find somebody else who'll say yes.
Yeah.
That sucks, man.
Yeah.
Bro, they were kind of worried about that with this last Indiana Jones movie, with Harrison Ford telling these people, yeah, you can do AI stuff to make me look younger and put me in these scenes where I'm young Indiana Jones. It's like, I guess that works fine for that one particular movie, but then you start to question, well, what was in that contract where one, yes, Harrison Ford is coming back to do another Indiana Jones movie, and then it's like, well, are they planning on doing more Indiana Jones movies in the future, and will they need to call back Harrison Ford to do anything, or do they own his likeness from now until the end of the earth?
Yeah,
it's like Gemini, man, with Will Smith. He did a complete movie with himself. That's crazy.
And it's almost like, what if they're waiting for him to pass away, let's say, just to reboot the series again?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bro, I swear I'm still waiting for like random Michael Jackson to show up in the new Moonwalker movie.
Michael Jackson, AI generated, was singing No More Showed Me.
Oh, dude, he was singing The Weeknd, Can't Feel My Face. Something like that.
Michael Jackson version.
Dude, it was legit, man.
Cause I know tell me that's the
yeah.
Like the way he sings, I'm like, oh, and it sounds good.
Yeah,
it sounds real.
Yeah, just like him. I was just telling Ebner earlier before we got on that they did an AI generate with Drake and The Weeknd, and the guy actually put the song out and started making money off of it until Drake heard it. He's like, "That's not me. What the hell's going on?" So he sued the kid. So the kid put the song out on Apple Music and YouTube and made like millions off of it. And then everybody's like, yeah, that's not Drake.
I swear.
It was like I think it made it to like the top 10 songs on iTunes. And they told him like, oh, congratulations on top 10. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I haven't put out any music. And he heard it.
Jeez, man.
Bro, I promise you're going to see it more and more over each of the industries. It's just like this pushback on AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be. I think it should be pushed back. I think AI should be used for helping, not taking over. And that's where a lot of people are not standing up for that. But I'm glad that the writers did. Because think about this, and this is another question I had for you. What's going to be the state of the production of movies, entertainment in the next 10 years if this keeps going, in your opinion? What do you think that's going to look like?
Bro, I mean, we've almost gotten away from like reel-to-reel film recording. So analog is getting left behind.
Like even this podcast is a virtual podcast.
Yeah, bro. It's exciting, but a little bit scary that, everything going digital, like we're really taking a hands-off approach to how we're moving into the future.
Do you think it's because people are getting more lazy and more comfortable, or do you think it's just because the skill set isn't there anymore?
It's definitely a fight for convenience. I feel like anything that we try and do or fight towards, it's just an excuse to make things more convenient for us. And it's starting to get to a point where convenience is morphing into laziness.
Yeah. Like going back to the AI thing, like you said, in 10 years, like AI is like just now being a thing right now. It's been around, but like now it's really good. How good do you think it'll be in 10 years? Maybe you may not need writers in 10 years, like at all. Then you can just type into an AI, make me a story like Jurassic Park and Star Wars together, and you'll get a full script.
Me and Nomar were
Then you
talking
can get
about
whatever
this.
actor you want to do it because you have their facial recognition and everything.
Earlier, me and
Maybe
Nomar,
10 years from now, you won't need anything.
there's a creator of this cartoon that basically created a world. I was telling Nomar about this. They did an example with South Park where they programmed all the characters, all the scenes, and then in AI generated, they typed in like a scenario for the show, like Chrissy cheats on Brandon or whatever, and AI created the show and made the animation show a 30-minute show, and it looked legit like a South Park episode.
Bro,
That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
like,
man.
can you imagine doing that with a film or movies?
It seems exciting right now just because it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
I feel like once the novelty is worn off, that's when reality is going to set in, and it's going to be like our collective oh fuck moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, we let the cat out of the bag and now we can't put it back in.
I think that it works in a way where it's like it gives you an idea, which is great. But the creativity aspect of it, if we don't hold on to that, it's going to be gone. You're not going to have that creative aspect towards things anymore. Like even mixing nowadays, when you mix a song, you could put it in a program and it mixes it for you. It doesn't sound the best, like if you was to do it yourself, but it sounds pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You know? So if you don't have the money to go into a studio, you can do it that way now.
Yeah, I saw a post that said the only thing in the world right now that cannot be replicated by machinery is crocheting. Because the machine just can't do it. So I was like, damn, that's dope. That's like the only thing humans can do that a machine can't right now.
Maybe a robot soon.
But I can say that's kind of scary though, because then that makes you question: are we becoming obsolete now?
Yeah, man.
Because I mean, bro, I don't know about you. I go into like any like Walmart or like fast food place, bro. There's nobody at a cash register anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
It's automated. Everything is self-checkout.
And if they're there, it's there if you have any questions about the self-checkout, because they're not doing it for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't know. I'm partly excited about it, but then I'm looking at it like, bro, this is slowly turning into that movie Wall-E, where we're just like a bunch of fat people floating in space.
Either that or iRobot.
Yeah.
Or Terminator.
Yeah.
I was telling Nomar about those movies.
Yeah, that's more than likely.
Bro,
man.
I want to go out like Linda Hamilton, bro, just standing at the fence and just taking all of that blast in my face.
Pause.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but
you had to say it. I was like, whoa. So now, Nomar.
When you're mixing, listen, when you're going over the episodes, you said some crazy shit earlier.
Oh, I got to pause in there.
Listen out for it. Yeah. Right pause across the screen for me.
So now Nomar and Josh, since we did the episode with them, they have me always questioning what I'm saying. So now anytime I say something, I hear their voice like, pause,
You got to be careful, man.
Yeah. But no, this was definitely a good conversation. Nomar, do you have any other questions you want to ask Henry about anything?
No, I already asked everything I had. I got some good answers.
That's good. So yeah, we just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us your time and being on the podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to mention? You'd like to say about the production company you have? I could put the website in the description for you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you want to find out more about our production company, you can go to www.caramelcricketaudio.com, all one word. You can find me on Instagram.
Do you have a TikTok as well? Or?
I have a TikTok. Oh God.
YouTube, right?
I swear. As well? YouTubes, the YouTubes, the Facebooks,
yep.
the MySpaces.
So pretty much
Tweeties.
all social media.
Yeah.
Same name,
Yeah,
right?
I'm out there. No.
Okay.
Maybe include the names in the description.
Sounds good. Yeah, it gets a little complicated. There's so many social media, like different apps and everything now.
Dude, I have like 5 Facebooks.
Bro, yeah, trying to go from like Henry Godwin from Facebook to Henry Godwin on Twitter to Henry Godwin on Instagram. It's like, nah, you got to do Henry Godwin 1 on this one and Henry Godwin 144256. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my problem with Instagram. I have my name on Instagram from like a long time, like 10 years ago when I first made one. And I can't get that name back because I have it, but I don't remember the password to get in.
What was the one we were talking about that this guy went to the jury and he had it? Something.
Oh my God. Yeah, his nickname was Buttfucker3000. And he went to like court through a Zoom call. And he forgot to change his name from Buttfucker3000. So the judge is like, hey, why is your name Buttfucker3000? He's like, get out. He had to reschedule his court date.
Just watch out. But no, we'll definitely put that on the description below. Maybe you can send me all the information and I'll put it there.
Yeah, bro, definitely get that to you.
But thanks again for coming. We appreciate your time. And it was great. It was a great conversation. Pause on that one, right? No more.
Yeah.
Thanks again for being on the podcast. We appreciate you, man.
There you go.